Sunday, 13th of March, 2022. In this evening's show, we are discussing yesterday's 1-0 win over Swansea as Hull make it a hat-trick of wins, which sees us 6 points off a playoff spot. Most importantly, leapfrog over the Nobbers with a game in hand. I'm John Aspirations. This is Seaside's podcast match reaction show. Blackpool 1, Swansea 0.
Ollie's already changed the world. Small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome on the audio pod. Seaside's podcast match reaction show. First thing I'm going to say this evening is Tim on mute.
Because as Phil Hornby was saying, I tweeted the preview show link. Thankfully, in my rush to deal with it the last couple of minutes before we came on, thankfully I didn't get the link wrong for AVFTT or Facebook.
I think we should have an addendum in Nathan Fogg's upcoming book. Tim Fielding obviously featured very heavily in it. There should be a section, an addendum in there. Tim Fielding's technical cock-ups at the beginning of pods. It'd be an extensive section, Tim.
You leave it to me every week, and I was late today, so it was like I was doing it 5 to 8. So I said I've got all the others right. It was just rushing. I've clicked on the wrong YouTube link, so I've deleted it now, Phil.
Well, we'll let you off anyway, Tim. As we did just mention there, Nathan Fogg's book, How Not to Run a Football Club. We have had privileged pre-release access to it. It's a great read. If anyone out there's thinking of buying it, I think it's out tomorrow, Tim, isn't it? And you feature quite heavily in it as well, don't you?
I'm not the only one on this podcast who features in it. So a certain Mr. Atherton, I think, gets mentioned in dispatches as well. So
it's as much as one Scott Keed Ellis. He's virtually got his own chapter. But
Sharpie's mentioned a lot as well, isn't he, Tim?
Yeah. You could tell he was feeding the tidbits to make sure the book was as full as it could be as regards what went on and everything. So I've got to say, I did a proofread for him about 6 months ago. I think I'd perhaps mentioned, and I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning 2 nights in the trot reading it. It was riveting. It's an
absolute page turner, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's, and obviously I'm trying to work out what's changed from the first read. There's a few bits changed. I think the first chapters got watered down slightly because I was going, oh my God, when I read the first draft. So I think
I was going to say if they've been watered down, I love the way that Tombstone Teeth so-and-so managed to stay in. So that's the watered down version. Deary me. Must have been some right gems taken out.
It was proper. Oh my God! The first time I read the first chapter, but it's still very powerful stuff. And I just think you for obvious reasons you need to be careful with the UK's most litigious person sat there, no doubt with a pre-ordering himself. So
it did say he was requested for comments several times and he declined to make any entries into the book. Sam and Carl did though, didn't they? Quite interesting what they said.
I don't know, and it is, and there's some we don't want any spoilers, do we? But there's some fantastic stories in there. Stories most of us, in fact, some stories don't get anybody's heard before. So it just shows what a car crash of a football club it was from top to bottom. It's just like you couldn't make it up.
I mean, there's a few murmurs of discontent about the manner of the victory yesterday, which is quite ridiculous, given the formation that Swansea play. But it really puts it into context after reading Nathan's book. People moaning and grumbling about just beating Swansea compared to what we were going through, and it really brings it home after reading the book.
Would that be the Swansea that they're in the Championship playoff final a couple of months ago?
A couple of months.
Well, end of last season.
Oh, back end of last year, yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, forgotten about that. Yeah, there was a lot of people weren't happy yesterday. But yeah, read the book anyway. It is out tomorrow. I have bought it personally. I've just been given a pre-order copy. I'm going to buy a few copies and distribute them to the patrons as rewards out there when it comes out. So, yeah, you are in it yourself, Joe. You mentioned once, obviously easily forgettable and easily missable, has happened outside the main entrance to the West End yesterday.
Yeah, said hello to somebody as he was walking past, stared at him, carried on walking. All right, John, then. Have a nice match. Enjoy.
No.
In my defence, Phil's quite tall, and I was looking at Phil, and you obviously, Joe, you're sort of half the height in your position. And honestly, my peripheral vision didn't stretch down to see.
I didn't get in the ground till bloody 5-3. I was waiting for me dad. Came strolling at about 10-3. Oh, sorry, there was a queue at the bookies.
Well, goes get priorities, right, hasn't he?
I was like, give me a tenner and I've put it on my phone. Oh no, we don't do all that mobile betting nonsense. You've got to get your slips.
I spent my pre-match talking to Afro, and who said, and I said, "Oh, I've just been reading reading Nathan's book," and he says, I think he's been a bit mischievous. I don't think I'm in it, he says. I think you find you are. Am I? Anyway, so I think that's another one, Nathan. I think I should be on commission.
Yeah, so it's out tomorrow, isn't it, Tim? Is it tomorrow?
I believe so. I think somebody was just asking in the chat there, Oliver. It's called "How Not to Run a Football Club," and I think you get on Amazon or Waterstones, and they both got it. We need to get it in the Sunday Times bestsellers list. Apparently, the 10th. Somebody was saying, I think it was an AVFTT. The book that was 10th last week or the week before did just over 1,000 copies ordered in a week. So I think there's half a chance it might make it up there, and I hope it does for Nathan, because I know he's spent an inordinate amount of time on it, and he's done a fantastic job.
The thing is, it's not just, obviously Blackpool fans are going to be the most interested, but any football fan can read this and they'll be absolutely flabbergasted by some of the stuff that the unmentionables did. It's truly unbelievable. There was even a few stories, like Tim said, that I wasn't fully aware of. I don't know how the club survived, I'll be honest.
But yeah, we won't say any more about it. We are going to do a full review with Nathan once it's released, so we'll leave it there. Chris has been asked to write his own as well, Tim. Probably that incident at the hotel with Owen and his propaganda mission. Chris was very forthright in his views against Owen there, wasn't it?
What are you going to do now? I think that's how it went, wasn't it, Chris? Of course, Chris was very famously ended up in argy-bargy with Holloway as well, didn't he?
That's right. He did.
So yeah, there's probably a few stories that Chris could have added to proceedings, I think.
Right, onto the game then. Mitch, Seaside 7. Our first of the Seaside 7. So hi, by the way, Mitch. Sorry, we haven't spoken.
Hello. No, I haven't read the book yet. I'm the only one of you who hasn't read the book yet. I'm waiting for I didn't want to spoil my hardback copy that will drop through the door tomorrow. So
the first thing I've put is should we do the team sheet first? No, so let's do first point of Seaside 7, which was Swansea fans. Very vociferous, came in good numbers. Quite a few altercations in the home end, not altercations, but there was a bit of argy-bargy, wasn't there? And it really kind of winds me up when you hear these Welsh fans singing these really vehement anti-English songs, and there was a lot of them doing it. And I was in the club shop. I was actually there quite early to the game. I didn't go to the pub, and I was getting Eddie a Josh Bowler shirt for scoring his first brace on a football pitch for Bolton JFC, and there was a lot of Swansea fans in there. Like about 10 of them. They're quite drunk. They were just like singing really anti-English sweary songs in there, and the security weren't doing anything about it, and it miffed me, and I'd have said something if I wasn't with Eddie, and it just like got allowed to happen. I don't know what was it like in the South?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was almost like it felt like quite an old-fashioned atmosphere, because the turnstile. I went in turnstile 17, which is the one right next to the away fans, and it was broken for a bit. And so they were giving out quite a lot of stick just as we were queuing up to go in the ground, and there's kind of quite a big cordon of people between you. But that's you don't really normally notice that outside the ground. And then in the south, it was quite lively. I mean, on the plus side, they made a really good noise, but they made a lot of noise before kickoff, which you don't really get these days. You used to get it when you used to have to go to get your spot on the terrace, and everyone used to sing for sort of 20 minutes before the game, and you don't really get that anymore. But I certainly think there was a degree of coin chucking across to the south, and there was certainly a Blackpool fan ejected. Probably, I think one that would be familiar to most of us was ejected for reacting to coin chucking or stuff being chucked. And when I was going out, actually, there was a bloke was sort of really screaming at one. Well, not really screaming at one of the stewards, because there was about 6 stewards containing the Swansea fans at the end, who were all trying to surge. They do that thing, they're trying to surge through to the fans. And then there was about 12 stewards just watching the Blackpool fans go out. And there was kind of, why are you not over there? Like, we're not causing any trouble. And the steward just says, it's not my stand, mate. So it was a bit feisty. It was a bit feisty, which I sort of enjoyed on one level. On another, it wasn't very good to see. If that makes there's a line you like that vibe. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see him in the club shop, but certainly before kickoff, they were walking across the south down Bloomfield Road and just giving it large. I just shrugged my shoulders. You can sing anti-English songs, I don't really care. It doesn't really make any difference. And singing what you sing everybody sings stuff at each other. But yeah, there was. From that steward, there was that kind of same atmosphere of it's nothing to do with me. Let him get, whatever.
They needed Grimmy in there because a few of them infiltrated the Armfield Club, and let's say
Did they really?
they were unceremoniously ejected. I think is the expression. I think Grimmy's words were, "I'm not having it." So they were basically shown the door in a rather unpolite way. So
I had that opinion of him taking liberties in the club shop in the ticket office. Just didn't like it. The way the security guards just let them get on with it. I was thinking, if I was a security guard, I'd be getting them out. I'd say, stop swearing at least.
One of the things in there. Sorry, John, I keep talking.
Oh, go on. Go on, mate.
One of the things that I did think yesterday was we've apparently got this awful reputation for being this violent group of hooligans wherever we travel, and we're on this most wanted list of football fans and so on. And I mean, probably since the boycott, I've been to, I don't know, 15, 16 away games since, and I've never seen us sort of en masse behaving really badly. You get the odd outbreak of stuff, you get the odd group of stuff, but not there was like this real vibe of there was hundreds of them behaving really quite unpleasantly towards kind of chucking stuff at stands with kids in and stuff, and it just kind of feels like, why have we got this reputation, and why are we at the top of the list of horrible fans? Because it doesn't feel like we are a group of horrible fans. It feels like we travel reasonably well to me.
Well, yeah, the kind of the vibe outside the south was they were being quite aggressive and having a go at like just families and old people and getting in people's faces and stuff. So I just didn't like it. I just thought it was a bit unnecessary. All right, fair enough. If you're going to meet another bunch of lads their own age and you expect that kind of thing, but not against people with families and old people.
I
It's
got a
interest-
comment as
Go on, John.
a bunch, about 5 or 6 of them I went past them and they thought that I weren't in earshot and they went, yeah, like making a car noise. So I just turned around and went, bah, and went off.
I was going to mention about it's interesting that Mitch says about the atmosphere pre-match and once the game got started. You just don't hear it in the north at all. It's really weird. The acoustics are awful, and you could tell they were obviously singing because of the way the way you could see the crowd, and they were obviously on the feet, but you couldn't hear a dicky bird. It's quite bizarre, and I think it's the same for them as well. They don't hear the north particularly well. But
It's a decent shout from Alison there, and it's us that always gets the blame off the police, and it's never the away fans. It's bang on the money, that, yeah. Right, let's get on to the game then. This was the team sheet. Dan Grimshaw, Sterling, Ekpiteta, Husband, James, Connolly, Stewart, Dougal Bowler, Kirk, Medina on the bench, Moore, Casey, Robson, Hamilton, Dale, Yates, and Lavery now. WTF. Critch has thrown us some curveballs, Joe, throughout the season. This was the curviest of the lot.
Well, as Mitch will attest, I was absolutely 100% fine with this team. I saw no problem at all with the selection. No, I'm completely lying. I was fuming. Couldn't understand us just playing one up top, even though Medine is a very good target man, holds the ball up well, and he also gives you that extra bit of height when defending set pieces. Obviously, there was a bit of illness in the camp. I don't know whether that led to some of the selections that we needed, but my main bugbear was us changing the team just to set up against them. I'm of the mindset we're the home team. We should be dictating what style of play that they play and shouldn't be changing for anybody else. But hindsight's a lovely thing, isn't it? And obviously, Critchley knows what he's doing, and I'm an absolute idiot. So fair play to him.
Mitch, as Joe mentioned there, Thornley, this is the second point in the Seaside 7. I've put Thornley and others crying off. I think the words Critch used pre-match. Didn't sound like he was happy, did it? 'Cause Thornley was on the team sheet to play, but apparently he said he doesn't feel well enough to play. And I don't know, it was a bit out of character for Critchley to come out with that. He must have been really mad. And it's, if you're ill, you're ill, aren't you? So it was a bit out of character, I thought.
It was out of character, but I mean, let's be honest, Thornley's never been one of his chosen people, has he? I mean, he basically pretended Thornley didn't exist for the first period he was here. And then
We lost you.
yeah, no, I'm back. I was obviously being censored by the Blackpool media team there for saying that. Yeah, he kind of pretended Thornley didn't exist for the first part of his tenure, and then he grudgingly accepted he did exist, and then he loaned him to Oxford because he didn't really want him to exist, and then he ran out of players, so he got him back. And it is really, really out of character, and I don't know. I don't know if I can only speculate, but it feels as if Thornley isn't one of his favourite players in the world. Who knows? I mean, I've read all the stuff on the forums with people saying this, that, and the other. I don't know. Thornley didn't play. I was really shocked to see Husband in the lineup because there was no sign that Husband was going to be coming back. But as it was, Husband I thought was fantastic. And, I really like Thornley. He's a player I really, really like. But, I mean, to be honest, I thought Jimmy was superb yesterday. So as it turns out, didn't really matter. But to be honest, I thought he'd go. I thought he'd go with a negative team yesterday. The two MK Dons games last year were awful. They were awful to watch. We won both of them. The Swansea away game was awful to watch. We got a point away there. He went one up front in all of those games, and I thought he'd do it, and he did.
Tim, your views on the lineup as you saw it, and did you agree with it?
So being a glass half full guy, I actually thought he was going to play Connolly midfield as a part of a midfield three. How wrong was I? So actually, when I first saw the team, I thought, oh, well, that's all right. You know, it's a bit of a 4-3-2-1 as against what we actually ended up having. And I think Mitch makes a good point in that. And I think we saw it, particularly we went down to Swansea, didn't we? It was our the away weekend we had, and I felt we ruined the game by playing too defensive in that one. It's interesting and I've only watched the highlights back, but we did actually create quite a lot of chances with. So I think actually the formation was a more positive, and whilst we surrendered possession to them a lot, for a team that had 24% possession, I think it was that we had over the game, we created probably good 7 or 8 decent chances to their 1 or 2, and so by hook or by crook, we seemed to stumble on a formula that worked well. But he worries about Swansea. He seems to worry about Swansea more than a lot of other teams in the league. So it's quite bizarre, really. But they do, obviously, they clearly love to dominate possession, but not doing very much with it.
It's actually number 5 on the Seaside Summit. We'll come to that. So the game started. Joe, early goal for their main man, the goal machine, Gary Medine. And our third talking point in the evening is another goal from a corner, following up from the previous home game against Reading. It's like waiting for a boss, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only taken us 36 games to get our regular corner taker, and it's Charlie Kirk, isn't it? Whether it was straight delivery into the back stick or playing a short corner in the little 1-2 first time delivery, I thought our corners were excellent yesterday, and that's been a big bugbear of mine for many a season. We've probably not been good at corners dating back to the early 90s when David Ayres would whip him in and Dave Bamber would get his head on the end of it. I think if we average about 6 corners a game, and there's 36 games to this point, so you're looking at about 220, 230 corners. I think up to yesterday, we'd scored off 3 of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a regular chance you've got of getting a goal, and we've seemed to have cracked it the last few weeks. Gary Medine weaving his magic by being the invisible man, disappearing in the back of the net, coming back, and Marvin blocking off the defenders. It's working a treat, and long may it continue, because set pieces, they're massive in football, and we seem to have wasted them for the majority of this season. If we were good at free kicks and corners like earlier on in the season, who knows where we'd be in the league now.
Tim, we've been well known for our views on corners. We've had strong views in certain situations and people and players this season, mostly negative. And when we've talked negatively about these things, particularly the corners, there's been a complete turnaround and change. So coincidence? We slag off corners.
Well, listen, we were at Stoke last week, and what we were saying, what the hell is Medine doing? Why isn't he go to the back post? Because he goes to the back.
You did.
We said that.
Those words came from your mouth, didn't they?
And I've got to say, it was great to see him, because that's where he's going to do the damage, isn't it? It's not going to do the damage, or he's less likely to do the damage at the front post or in the middle. It's coming at the back, and when we actually get a corner past the first man, which was a novelty on Saturday, but when we get the corner past the first man, it tends to go to the back post and go sailing over everybody else's head. So it was great to see him back there. And I think a point that was mentioned in the chat, Marvin was doing his. Joe, you probably recognised a couple of the moves, didn't you, from your wrestling days? He was manhandling I think they were giving it back as well, but I think one of them was trying to get back to pick up Medine, and basically Marv.
There was a good half Nelson. It was a good work from Marv.
Yeah, and he did super. It was a superb tussle going on in there, and it just left Medine free, and Medine does what Medine can do when he's given a free shot at goal and in that type of position. Sent the ball back the way it was coming, which is exactly what you want to see, and into the corner of the opposite post. Superb goal, and there's a good move in the build up actually that led to it, involving James, who I thought was far better yesterday than he's been in recent weeks.
I would agree with that as well. I've given him stick, I think, in the last 2 pods, but I thought he was much improved. Much improved.
We had another chance on 42 minutes, 39 minutes. Mitch, you probably best place to see it. You're obviously shouting and screaming, "It's Medine" on the first one, and you were nearly shouting it again from, was it a corner or was it a cross? And he's not as...
It was a Kirk cross, wasn't it?
It was another Kirk cross, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a cross. It was tipped over. It was a good one, but it sort of felt like it was always going to be saved, if that makes sense from when it came. But I thought the last few pods I've kind of toned it down a bit on Gaz because it's getting a bit weird. But I thought he was terrific yesterday. I really did. I thought he was brilliant because he also had that one Sterling free kick where he took it down on the outside of one of his. On the outside of his right foot and went to smack it with his left, and it just got steered wide. I thought he was superb first half yesterday. He really was. It was an absolute pleasure watching him. It was terrific. And he also had, and I'm not letting the pod go by without mentioning the. I'm sure we're going to get to the. Oh no, it wasn't the bowler chance. It was the Kirk chance, but where Medine took it and played that outside of his foot. Sort of like wrong foot.
He was kind of off balance, but he was off balance as well, wasn't he, when he played that pass?
It's just like this man is not a big lump. He's a footballer. He was absolutely terrific. He was as good as I've seen him for 45 minutes yesterday. And I think, as I said, I thought we'd go with the one up front, but then I kind of thought, oh yeah, he's one up front. Hang on, it's Gaz on his own. And that was the surprise there. And I think that just shows how much Critchley has come to see him as an essential element, that he's picking one up front and he's picking Medine, and how much he's grown to be a player in the way we play. There he was, trotting round, closing down, doing things that just Gary Medine doesn't do, but now he does.
He's fit. I think he's fitter these days, Rich. I think he's probably as fit as he's ever been while he's been at the club, I think.
I think it's the extended run of games, isn't it? That helps.
Yeah, and
it reminds me a little bit like Charlie Adam in that respect. Charlie Adam, if he didn't play every single week, he wouldn't be as good because he needed the games because he's a big, and Medine's a big guy as well, isn't he? And they need to keep playing for me. And when he does, when he has a layoff, then you're going to take 2 or 3 games before you get him playing at his optimum.
Mitch, I think for your background for the next pod, you should have like a few posters of Gaz and various sort of cutouts, like on Partridge when he meets his biggest fan. When he goes into his house. Get some clippings out of the Gazette up on you all. God, just for a laugh next.
Offer him a coffee and an aerolator.
We need to invite the big man on the pod, don't we? And
be quality. I'm your biggest fan.
And don't pick Mitch for the show.
I don't think I could. I think I'd just be speechless.
Yeah, it's like when you're a kid and you meet your hero, isn't it? Just standing looking at him in awe.
Hi, Gary. I'm
your biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan.
How do you head the ball so well?
You coming around to meet my brother-in-law? Yep. No way, you're a mentalist, said it in Geordie accent. Anyway, Seaside 7, number 4, bowler misses. I don't know if I've spent I was
I'll
typing
talk
the-
about this.
Go on then.
I don't mind
You
talking.
talk about the first one, Joe. Go on.
Right. First one was the one that he should have scored. He's 3-1-on-1, and he's done a Ben Whiteman, basically. He's put it hideously wide. Fair enough. The chance at the beginning of the second half, second chance that he's had. I've watched the game back, by the way. That was really unlucky. If you watch it again, he's completely wrong-footed the keeper, and if that's literally 6 inches the other way, it's a goal because the keeper's completely wrong-footed. He's tried to be clever and gone near post, and it's nearly paid off.
No, Joe. Joe. I was like thinking, just go far post. If it just slotted it into the far post, it's in, isn't it? He was trying to be a bit too clever there.
Third chance, it's come to him quickly. He's in it first time, and again, it's just gone wide. What I will say is, Josh Bowler has set ridiculous standards over the last 6 to 7 weeks. I think it was before yesterday, he scored 6 out of 8 games. Got to remember, he's a winger. He's not a striker. His job isn't to score goals, it's to create them. He's got into the areas yesterday. You know, despite us not having much of the ball, he's had 3 really good chances. Maybe should have done better with one of them. Unlucky with the other 2 for me. Listen, he's at Blackpool. We signed him for a free. He's not the finished article. Do you know what I mean? If he was, he wouldn't be with us. And all right, his price has probably gone down to 30 million instead of 35 million now. It's not a big deal. I'd rather he do that in a game that we win 1-0 than 0-0 last minute at Deepdale. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
I think he's more than earned having a slightly off game.
He has.
And apart from the missed chances, I thought he had a good game yesterday.
That third one, Joe, there was a defender coming across him anyway, and I'm not sure. I think if he'd been on target, I think the defender would probably have blocked it anyway. But I agree with you. I think the first one, you know, you probably expect him to at least hit the target, as my brother would bellow from the south stands.
And plus, apparently he worked well. So, you know, he still had an excellent game considering, I don't know, that half the team were shitting through the eye of a needle at half time, so I believe. So, you know, cut the guy some slack. He's been brilliant the past few weeks.
He has. A couple of people saying he should have gone round the keeper, Mitch. You don't see that in football anymore, do you? People going round keepers. You don't see it in football. There's only Jerry. I've only seen Jerry do it.
Yeah.
Over the last sort of 10 years.
There'll be some kind of metric, won't there, where it'll be, oh, it's not worth going around the keeper because it reduces your possibility of scoring by 0.03% or something. But yeah, it's a really good point. I'm trying to think of the last goal we scored going around the keeper.
Sure,
I can't
Jerry.
think of it.
Yeah,
it's Jerry,
Yeah, it will, yeah.
Michael Preston, you might want to change your surname there, Michael. Should have skinned the keeper, and it could have got sent him off. Tim, it's always a good thing when you go around the keeper because there's always that possibility, isn't there?
Yeah.
So I wonder if that should come into the metrics, expected.
Yeah, I think we need. And I think Sean was a bit all Blackpooled out. He said, didn't he? So he didn't want to come on tonight after actually been working all day. Yeah. But I think we needed his expert analysis here as regards what the impact of going around the keeper is. But I do like to see a player go around the keeper. I think it shows supreme confidence in your ability against theirs, and I think you tend to see them try and chip the keeper, or like Bowler tried to do, play it early. But yeah, listen, I think on another day you'd have scored. I've got to say an honourable mention as well for the pass from Stewart. I thought Stewart's pass to him was sublime.
That for the first chance in the first half,
and CJ's as well. CJ did really, really, really well in the build up to the third one as well, didn't he?
That little flick behind him, that was beautiful. Or was that a different chance? He had a couple of little sort of almost quite un-CJ like touches. Where I
thought the one where Bowler just put it to the right of the post. I thought had he not intercepted a little bit like he did at Fulham?
Yeah, right, yeah.
And then he'd driven down the left, and he put great. And to be fair, he's put some great balls in for Bowler specifically, hasn't he? I mean, he set up Bowler's goal last week before, 2 weeks ago. It wasn't against Peterborough, and it was almost like a carbon copy pass in some respects to that one. But yeah, I think the points Joe make are very sound from my perspective. I think Bowler is on a different level, but he's not perfect, and he's going to. I don't even like to call them mistakes. He just didn't score, but I love him, and I think we've just got to make sure we make the most of it while he's here, as we've said in previous pods, because they are going to come a calling again come the end of the season.
Enjoy the next 10 games.
I've got a theory on going around the keeper.
Or 13, Joe, depending on your the extent of your glass half full positivity.
Not a sniff. If we get to the playoffs, I will give every single patron, I will pay for their first leg ticket.
Yeah, everybody's a patron supporter of this show.
You've heard it.
This is now on audio. You've seen it on video. It's on
Not
the
a
recorder.
sniff, unfortunately. But we are going to finish in the top half, and I'd have taken that.
This is Blackpool.
I really didn't think it was happening until you said that. In which case,
I think he's using reverse psychology.
Well, when our first game's Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, I was saying that we won't be able to go, will we? They're not allowed fans, are they? Well, you can all thank me, can't you, after that comment?
Going around the keeper theory, is it because keepers come out more now than they used to? So they used to sort of stay on the line because the keepers play much more. They used to sort of stay on the line, and therefore the striker would run towards them, and then they'd come out in a sort of slightly panicky way, and they're easy to go around. As I've said this, I've realised it's the worst theory ever. Let's move on.
Okay. Seaside 7, number 5, is titled Swansea Possession. Now, there's been a lot said about this, plenty from Russell Martin. The stats I've looked up: Blackpool 24% versus 76% possession for Swansea. Russell Martin post-match saying they've dominated the game, we're long ball merchants, and he's looking forward to playing us again. Most boring stats. We've had 11 total shots to their 8, 4 off target to their 1, 4 on target to their 1, and shots inside the box 10 to their 2. So draw your own conclusions from that, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, I think the point is, and I'll say I sort of stole the thunder a bit by straying into this conversation earlier, didn't I? In that he didn't dominate the game; they dominated possession, and that they are two different things. I know. And I've only watched the highlights again at the moment, but I know the highlights are Blackpool centric in that they're going to focus on us a little bit more. But they only had 2 chances. They had the one that went wide of the post that was struck from outside the area, which Grimmy had well covered anyway, and they had the header, and so. They were whatever game he was watching. He wasn't watching who had the chances, and I don't think we were that route one. I don't recall us chucking the ball up to Medine. We were playing it out from the wings, and
there was a reason. There was a reason that the highlights were Blackpool centric. It's because if you wanted to watch the highlights from the Swansea perspective, it'd just be 10 minutes of them passing it along their back line, getting to the halfway line, switching the ball to the opposite wing, being a bit ponderous, then passing it back to the back 4. I mean, I was on Twitter earlier, and I likened Swansea's tactics to kind of, when you're playing with your food, you've got your Sunday dinner, and you've got your mashed potatoes, and you're kind of building a little castle out of it. You make a little moat. You get the gravy in the moat. You might get the broccoli and put them up as little trees. And might use the peas as like little bits of, I don't know, boulders or something to throw at the castle. Yeah, and then by the time you realise, oh yeah, that's quite a good little dinner diorama that I've made there. You start eating it, and it's gone cold, and it tastes shit, and you don't want to eat anymore. That was Swansea yesterday.
That's probably one of the finest analogies that I've ever heard. Every credit.
David
I
Moy.
thought
David Moy, a message to
That's
Sean here. Position stats are a complete wank. Ignore them. If only our
Good
accredited
shout,
friend was
David.
on here to take that one in.
XG, more like X bollocks. Get it in the mixer.
Pressing. It's all about closing down. It's just different words for the same thing, isn't it? Recycling possession, aka getting the ball back.
High block.
Playing through the thirds, passing it.
I still don't know what in transition means. You know when they say, "Oh, we played well in transition."
That's where we lose the ball.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think it's when
you lose the ball. You lose the ball and you get it back.
Does that
I was
mean
gonna
we were
say,
good
isn't
when
it
we were
when-
on the bus?
Isn't it when you've had the implants, but you've still got the meat and sea veg? Isn't that in transition? I don't know. Sorry, Sean, if you're watching this. This is what you get for not turning up.
Yeah, flounce, and you're gonna get this. You're gonna get
I
it.
think what it does show is it shows in some ways what a pragmatist Critch is, because Russell Martin doesn't look like he's learned anything since last season. It just was exactly the same as he was last season, and it's easy to. It almost feels like somehow he got promoted last year, but he didn't. MK Dons were kind of mid-table, weren't they? I think they ended up last season, and he got a job at Swansea on the basis that they like that sort. You know, they always appoint a sort of a passing manager, and he's led them to the merry heights of probably about 17th, I think they are now.
I mean, to be fair to them, sorry for interrupting. They have had a few. They have had a fair few injuries. To be fair to them, and they had. True, yeah, and they've had a lot of games cancelled with COVID and have a backlog of fixtures. I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be balanced. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's a load of shite, but
Cliff Smith in transition is when Gary becomes Gary Jill Nadine. No, not Jill Nadine. Jill Nadine.
yeah, Gary Nadine.
Jill Nadine. Jill Nadine. Gary Nadine in transition. Quality. Love it.
I'm not even saying anything.
What's next on the Seaside is 7?
There you go. Right. So one of the reasons why they've not had any shots on goal, one of the many reasons they've not had shots on goal is because of number 6 in the Seaside 7, which is Marv the Rock Ekpateta, a wrestling nickname, Joe, whatever you want to call it. But Marv getting all these blocks again. Have I spelled his name right? I always get it wrong. But Big Marv, brilliant again yesterday, and also all he deserves is extended contract, which takes him up to 2024.
Yeah, great news. Hopefully, that'll put a few off in the summer, and if it doesn't, get a pretty penny. But yeah, like you say, I think he's really come into his own since he's been given the captain's armband. Whether that added piece of responsibilities, made him step up a gear. I'll talk about stepping up a gear. Every year he seems to step up a gear, whether he was with Leyton Orient stepping up from the conference to League Two, stepping up with us from League Two to League One, and now the Championship. It just seems to find that extra gear and that extra level to step up and better himself. He's been excellent. I can count the number of mistakes he's made this season probably on one hand. He's just a Rolls Royce of a centre back, and like you say, he's a big unit. He's got that presence at the back. He's starting to learn from the master of shithousery with Gary Medine on them corners. Lovely tag team they're making with the corners, and yeah, long may it continue. The fact that he's signed a new contract's excellent news, and hopefully he'll be the first of many to do so over the summer.
Name wrong. That's right, isn't it? Yeah.
You should have just got an egg and a potato emoji.
Okay, final. Seaside 7, number 7, Tim, is I have titled this playoffs? Question mark. Now we are currently on 51 points, 10 games remaining, and we are 6 points off Sheffield. Sheffield in 6th position, who we play on Tuesday now. So Tim, I will put this
Wednesday. It's
Wednesday.
Sorry. Sheffield Wednesday. Oh, we're playing them on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, I'm playing on Wednesday. It's Sheffield Wednesday. And it's United.
See, Connor, this is why you need to clarify the name of the team. Sheffield
Oh, just call them
United.
Blades.
Sheffield United on Wednesday. Can you see all the confusions that are abound there?
For those who are looking on or listening in, rather bemused, there was quite a debate on the patrons chat about whether we need to differentiate which Sheffield club it is. Led by Chris Walker, and Connor came back with a riposte of the finest caliber that put paid to that theory. But Connor, you just had it explained to you why you need to do it.
Connor's riposte was essentially that nothing has any meaning at all, wasn't it? Really, so that
It was.
you know,
It was almost an essay, I think. But
What do you think? What do you think, viewers? If you're saying the name of a team, do you think you should give it its full name? The debate is
Well, I think
Sheffield. You call them Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday, but Chris made a perfect reply to it. And you don't say Manchester, do you? You don't say Man or Manchester. That just sounds ridiculous.
I'd just go with team nicknames, to be honest. Blades or Blunts.
Anyway,
We need to get on with this
Playoffs.
because I'm going to miss Peaky Blinders at this rate. Come on, let's speed things along.
not heard of iPlayer. Do you not have that in Rotherham?
Don't have a cinema in Rotherham. No, that for a fact.
he can't have his washing machine and iPlayer on. There's not enough.
Yeah,
electric-
come on,
electric in
Jesus.
Rotherham.
Put 20p in meter.
Anyway,
Okay,
moving it on. So
Let's
looking
talk
at
about our
those games.
fixtures. I'll just read these fixtures out, Tim, before you talk. So we've got Sheffield United at home, Forest at home, PNE away, Blackburn away, West Brom away, Birmingham at home, Luton away, Barnsley away, Derby at home, Peterborough away. All winnable games. Sheffield United and Forest being the toughest, in my opinion, and also Luton away. So 51 points we're on. How many do we need out of the last 30 available to make the playoffs?
Well, I think as a starting point, forget about how many points we need. I think we need to win on Wednesday night. I think if you don't win Wednesday night and they're in 6th, and they're 6 points ahead of us, that then I think puts an insurmountable gap. So I think the discussion only has any validity on this on the premise that we win on Wednesday night. If we don't, maybe a draw, but if we lose to them, that's us out, as far as I'm concerned, straight away. It's interesting then because if you were to win on Wednesday and if you were then to beat Forest, there is a whole series of games, as you say, John, there that are eminently winnable, aren't they? Luton looks the most difficult. Blackburn are having a bit of a rocky time at the moment.
West Brom are dog shit. Birmingham are dog shit.
Yeah, Nobbers are dog shit.
Barnsley are. Derby, they're not dog shit, but beat them on Peterborough away last game of the season.
Yeah, so you've got...
You said a minute ago that you've got all of this on recording. Yeah, what you two have said when we lose 10 games in a row now. These are shit, they're shit.
But listen, I'm quite happy to go up on that pedestal to be knocked down. I said Preston were going to finish bottom this season, and I'm going to have to eat some humble pie. But no, the reality...
For the record, I do actually think we will get 15 points from the 30 available. I think we'll win 4, draw 3, and lose 2. I'm not telling you which games they'll be because I always get them wrong. We will finish on 64 points and we will finish 11th. And that will more than do me this season.
That gives me the bragging rights as well, Joe, because I'll have been nearest to the pin as regards, because these lot all had us just finishing above the relegation zone. So, but no, I think my short answer is I agree with Joe. I think it's beyond us. You look back now, there's a couple of games Bournemouth being one of them, you really wish you'd held out and kept the points on that one. And I don't think we're going to win both those 2 home games. But I'd love it if we did, because then it will start to get a bit interesting.
I don't think we've got any chance at all until you think that we've got our most complete player this season to come back into the side. And as an all-round footballer, there is no question that Keshi has been our best player. I mean, Bowler's been the best sort of attacker, but Keshi is an all-round player who adds another dimension. And then that just makes me think, as Tim says, if we can get something on Wednesday and get to that little break, there's then that little break, isn't there, where we've got a sort of, it's about 2.5 weeks till we play, or certainly 2 weeks till we play. And then maybe we get Keshi back in the side. And you just think, and he always comes back really hungry. I don't know if you remember that whenever Anderson's been out, he always comes back really hungry, absolutely desperate, like he's been really missing football. And then that starts making me thinking, well, you never know. But I mean, I think we've got no chance, but you never know.
Beat Sheffield United, and we're right in there.
Yeah.
Next 2
The fact
games.
that we're even talking about it is fantastic.
It is.
If we take 4 points from the next 2 games, there's a sniff.
No, but we have to beat Sheffield United for me. We have to beat them to have any realistic chance, because that's a big gap, 6 points, particularly as you start to run down the games. It does. And listen, it's just brilliant. I mean, we're at no risk of going down. We can only look up. And the fact that we can look up with 10 games to go and not down is brilliant.
Certainly is. To be continued on Wednesday. Right, let's move on to player ratings. Get the graphic back up. Switch view to that one. Let's start with you, Joe, Dan Grimshaw.
It's really difficult to say because he didn't have anything to do. And I know that sounds, a bit arrogant, but he didn't. So I think he made 1 save, didn't he? The one that,
a good one.
Yeah, from where I was in the north, I couldn't tell if he got a touch or not, but obviously a corner was given, so he must have. So yeah, 8.
Watch the game back.
I've watched highlights.
I'll tell you what Grimmy was.
On the highlights.
I'll tell you what Grimmy was.
I couldn't tell whether he saved it or not. Sorry, mate.
No, it was a good save.
Right.
Really good save.
He was really sharp off his line a couple of times when he'd had nothing to do, and he was really sharp in sort of making saves that weren't spectacular, but needed him to be on his toes. I'd agree with an 8 for what it's worth, but I thought he did a good job.
So Michael Preston's just said took 1 in the ribs in the game. I was actually stood behind the North Stand watching the pre-match warm-up where they do the shooting, and I was right behind some of the shots, and off him with some power. And Grimmy was getting down, saving him. He's not that big though, is he? I was quite surprised at how small he is physically to a keeper. You expect him to be quite big, and I was comparing him to Stuart Moore. He's massive, but yeah, Grimmy's quite a slight frame, which is unusual. But he's very nimble. But yeah, it was a great performance from Mr. Grimshaw. So Dujon Sterling. Who should we have? Tim.
I thought that's probably, I think, just about the best game I can remember him having at right back. I think we all have been eulogising about him playing left back, but I think at right back he's always looked at, for me, a little bit like he's going to get a nosebleed if he goes over the halfway line.
He wasn't in the game though, was he? He made quite a lot of penetrating runs.
No, this is my point. I think as a right back performance. It was, I think, his best because that's what I don't like about his game when he plays right back, and we forfeit Jordan. So I've got to say, I think he had a superb performance. I think it's a 9-, so just under a 9.
Very nice. Big Marv, Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote my blog this weekend and I realised I hadn't actually mentioned Marvin, so I had to put a paragraph in about him at the end because I've just stopped noticing him. He's that good, if that makes sense. You just take him for granted. It's just like, oh, he's he's put a last-ditch tackle in and took it off the toes of someone again. But that's what Marvin does. You just kind of it's week after week after week after week. And I thought he was terrific. And I think all the defence deserve a bit of praise for the fact that was obviously a rejigged system. It was a new system. If Critch is, well, I'm going to say if Critch is to be believed, why wouldn't he be believed? The actual personnel of the defence changed around. And I don't know if you heard Critch on, I think it was Lanks saying that actually they had to rejig it just before kickoff because actually Swansea hadn't lined up like they thought they would. So they ended up kind of rejigging all the instructions just before kickoff. And he said he was really proud of how the players followed it through. And I thought the defence looked like a real unit. And Marv's the captain of it, holding them there together in the middle in a way that is just mind-blowing when you think about the sort of slightly Bambi-legged, shaky-looking guy who came in, who looked like he had a mistake in him sort of every other half at the beginning of
with him and Michael Nottingham. I was just about to say that before you started. Yeah, what a difference.
Yeah, so I've gone a bit of a Marvin monologue, but I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a 9 again.
A Marvin monologue.
Yeah.
Reece James, Joe, arguably his best performance in Tangerine, particularly given the fact, as you said, he might have been shitting through the eye of a needle at half-time.
Yeah, I got a little bit annoyed with him at one point in the game because we were on the attack and he kind of like stood on the ball and tripped over. And I just went on one of my little rants on Twitter about him. But no, in the cold light of day, he did a very good job, especially defensively, which at the end of the day is his job. His job isn't to be in the box.
I thought he was decent going forward as well, to be fair. I thought he was good.
I was just annoyed at that one piece of play because we had an opportunity to get a goal and he just stood and literally fell over the ball. It annoyed me. But that's me just picking out one little tiny bad area of the game. I thought he had like you say, it was probably his best game in a Blackpool shirt. And I thought he had a good game at Stoke as well. So hopefully he can continue that upward trend, and who knows how long we're going to have to need him playing left back, because obviously Husband's filling in for both Keogh and Fornelly, it seems now.
We're stuck with him, Joe. We're stuck with him.
Yeah, we're stuck with him, exactly. But no, I mean, I wasn't a fan of him when he came in, and yeah, he's slowly winning me over. 7+.
Tim, as you said on the last pod, didn't you, that we've got this bias that when you sort of you don't really fancy a player, you focus on the absolute negatives all the time. I think Joe may have been guilty of doing that anyway. But yeah, I thought Reece James was decent. Over to Callum Conley, another great performance from Callum Conley, who's winning me over, as I've said before.
Yeah, it was one of those performances. And maybe because I was just my focus is elsewhere, but I don't remember him doing a lot.
Well, there was that many defenders on the pitch, so you couldn't really focus on any one particular defender.
But I think, but the fact that he was, as Mitch said, they look like as a defensive unit, we look great, and he didn't make any mistakes, But I think because he's played deeper, I've just not noticed him as much as when he's playing in midfield, and I like him as a player. So I think it was a solid performance. Only on the basis I can't really remember anything he did or didn't do. It's an 8.
Fair enough. Mitch, over to Kevin Stewart, who I described the chap in front of me
Jimmy.
as a. Sorry,
we've missed Jimmy.
We have. Sorry, Jimmy.
How can you miss somebody with a man bun?
He's been out for that. He's been out for that long. I've forgotten about him, but yeah, James' husband Mitch back in the starting squad, even though he wasn't meant to be playing.
I thought Jimmy was impeccable, and to be honest, I love Jimmy. I really do. I've always liked him as a footballer. I've always liked how wholehearted he is, but I think he has improved hugely as a player. He's calmer. He's more considered. He's more thoughtful as a footballer than he was, under certainly under Larry and initially under Critch. And I thought for a player who'd been out for 2 months or whatever he'd been out, he was injured against Huddersfield, I think, if I remember rightly. So it's a good couple of months he's been out. I thought he just looked so comfortable. And there was one moment right towards the end when they'd knocked a long ball up and he just sort of sauntered over, took it off the guy's head, tidied it up, passed it either to Dujon or Grimmy or something, and just sort of wandered off, and just such calmness in his defending, and his touch is lovely. He's not the best crosser of a football, I'll concede that, but his touch and his short passing is really, really, really good. So I'm gonna give him a 9, and he's definitely a man of the match candidate for me.
John Cox just said 12 months ago Hubby was a walking red card. Completely different player these days. Certainly is, John. Okay, next on the hit list was Tim, and as I was saying earlier, the player I described to the chap in front of me as a Rolls Royce running in midfield, Kevin Stewart.
I think actually I'm nicking something that was said in the chat before. I think if he'd been playing for a majority of this season, I think we would be realistic playoff candidates, because I think our upturn in form, as frustrating as his absence has been, is that the upturn in form seems to coincide with him returning to the team, and I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's a reflection of that extra dimension that he brings to everything we do, from breaking up the play to linking with the forward players, as we saw with Bowler, that sublime pass of his. And I think he's in our between Epiteta, him, and Bowler. They are our most effective players at the moment, and it's a 9+ from me. Actually, I'm going 9+. I thought he was superb again.
There was one thing, I know we're rattling on, but one thing he did yesterday, which I thought it took him to another level. There were twice where he played a pass that I hadn't seen. You can kind of read what's going to happen, and twice he just played a pass where I was wanting him to do something different, and he did something better than I could see from the stand, from the leisurely position that I have in the stand, being able to see the whole pitch. And I thought there was a quality to him yesterday that was even better than I've seen, which was the level of creativity brought to the game. I thought it was terrific. Sorry to jump in with that.
No, he adds exactly what we've been all crying out for this season in central midfield to partner Kenny Dougal. And Joe, I think he brings the best out of Kenny Dougal as well, who we'll move on to next.
Yeah, I was going to say exactly the same thing. I think it's no coincidence. I think I read somewhere that every game that those two have started in the middle, we've not lost. I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but probably wouldn't surprise me, because with Stewart's injury record, he's not started that many. And that wasn't a dig at him, by the way. That was just, a fact. It's like people say, if he'd been fit for the majority of the season, I'm sure we'd be well in with a chance of the playoffs.
It's great that he's having these continuous games one after the other, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, fantastic. Absolutely. I mean, if that record continues, then, we're going to be in with half a sniff. But again, it's not going to happen. And if it
after we beat Sheffield on Wednesday, Joe, you'll change your tune.
Is that Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday we're playing, John?
It doesn't need clarifying. What are you on about? He's going to hate me when he listens back to this. Where were we? Josh Bowler, Tim?
Probably, as we've spoken about before, not his best game, but for somebody who's set incredibly high standards for himself, he's still a massively effective player. And another day, one of those 3 chances would have gone in. So I think he's still played well. I'm going to go, keeping it real, I think I'm going to go an 8+.
And as I frantically type a new entry to the player banners, Charlie Kirk Mitch, creator of Gaz's goal, so he's immediately
Oh, absolutely.
Player that rates very
Friend of
highly in
mine.
your subconscious, I guess.
Any friend of Gaz's is a friend of mine. Yeah, I'll admit the first couple of sights of him I've had, I wasn't blown away by him, but I actually really enjoyed the way he played yesterday. And I thought two things. I thought he looked intelligent. His movement was nice. The way he used space was nice. Obviously, his set piece delivery was excellent, and his first touch was really good. He moved the ball quickly from received it, gave it quickly. He's a clearly very different beast to CJ and his ilk. He's not quick. And I think that's going to be the thing that frustrates with Kirk, is that he's not a quick player, but if he can keep putting balls of that quality in and keep being part of the interplay with the rest of the team in the way he was yesterday, then I like him. Then I'm going to like him. So yeah, I'm going to go 8+, I think.
A fine debut. Not a speed merchant, but I think he's got a few more facets to his game. And rounding this off, Joe, you've got Big Gaz, the goal machine. Signed him on a free.
We did. Yeah, he continues to shut the doubters up. Not just the goals, the shithousery, the arguing with referees, even when he's already won a decision. The way that he's great in both boxes. He's dangerous when we're attacking. He's there to clear him when we're defending. Yeah, captain, leader, legend material for me. I think he's been brilliant the past month or so. And I'm going to give him a 9.
Now, Tim, it's going to be... If it wasn't the absolute standout performer from you know who, the Rolls-Royce in midfield, this would be quite difficult, but I think it is going to be quite easy to pick a man of the match from the performance against Swansea.
Yeah, for me, every day of the week, Kevin Stewart.
Mr. Mitch.
It is Kevin Stewart. I could make an argument for Jimmy. I could make an argument for Gaz, but it's Kevin Stewart.
Mr. Joe.
Kevin Stewart.
Mr. Me, Kevin Stewart. And to round the show off this evening, we'll do a manager rating and perhaps a little comment as well, Tim, on the formation that he's played and a rating.
Yeah. I get a bit frustrated that we worry about teams more than we need to. But I think when you watch the game, whilst it looked a very negative setup, we created as many chances as we do in any other game where we have a lot more possession. So I think he thought about it long and hard. Obviously, it sounds like they had to do a little bit of a tweak just before the game started. He's obviously had to deal with Krayoff's Trot Gate, whatever you want to call it.
What gate? Trot
Gate, got the trots.
I prefer shitting through the eye of a needle, personally, is the analogy.
But I think he coped with everything that was thrown at him unbelievably well, and I think you've got to recognise that, and it's a 9 from me.
Mitch, decent subs as well. I thought Lavery made a big impact when he came on.
Yeah, definitely. They were the subs I sort of wanted at the time. I was just getting a bit edgy for change it. We're getting a bit penned in, and he brought the two really quick players on. I just want to sort of slightly not take issue with what Tim said, but Tim sort of said we worry. I don't think Critch worried about Swansea yesterday. I think he thought, and somebody put it in the comments, apologies, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said Critch took advantage of Russell Martin's tactical rigidity, and I think that's what happened. I think Critch just thought, right, I'll have him on toast again, as he has done every time, because he'll come and play pass along the back. We'll sit deep and we'll just take him on the break, which is what we've done every time we've played them. I don't think it was a case of being worried that they were going to take us apart. I think it was more a case of thinking, right, this is how we're going to beat them, which I think is, like I said earlier, what puts Critch ahead of somebody like Russell Martin, who has a fixed philosophy and is rigid, and it's all very well saying this is how we're going to play, but if it's predictable and sort of you run into the trap of other teams by playing the same every week, then actually that's a bit dangerous. So I thought he did really well, even though it wasn't a spectacle. I thought he played it perfectly. 9+, even though I'm only taking half a mark off because it was boring, but we won really well.
Michael Preston, masterclass me, time wasted at home, which we never do, all part of the plan. Joe, it's a decent point, and it's good that we can mix it up. And we're mixing up games, we're mixing up possession, we're mixing up tactics. And yeah, it keeps us guessing all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got a new tradition now before each game. 2:00, log on to Twitter, have a look at the team.
Slate it.
Absolutely slag it to high heaven. What the hell is he doing? WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp mates. What's he doing? This is nonsense. This is garbage. It's abhorrent. It's not very good. And then 2 hours later.
Oh, I like abhorrent, Joe.
That's him. I was just thinking you've not had one this evening.
On,
and he's beat you to
Mitch,
it.
He's gonna read one out.
14:03, I received the following message. This team is capital letters rotten, followed by ain't broke, don't fix it. At 14:05, I received the following communication: rotten, minging, disgusting, abhorrent, and then finished with not very good.
And I will continue to do
I
this.
absolutely hate it.
But apart from that, you were happy with it.
Yeah, spot on. 9.
And on that note, I think we'll call it a day there. Thanks for joining us.
We're competing with Peaky Blinders, of course, rather than Songs of Praise tonight. So we need to get off.
It's better than Peaky Blinders. As you see on that banner going, across, please like and subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this fantastic Blackpool FC show on YouTube, and do subscribe to it if you are listening on the audio pod. All that to be said is thanks for watching, thanks for downloading. And up the pool.
Up the pool.